family, it's Tasha from MAMABEAR Prepping. You already know what time it is. Get your drink, pull up. Yum, yum, yum. I just got some basic hazelnut creamer today. Love it, so good. So today, I just wanted to first say thank you. Welcome to the channel. Welcome back to the channel where we just talk about emergency preparedness. We talk about natural disasters. We just talk about basically what me and my family do to get ready, to prepare, and hopefully that will help you with you and yours and your plans when things go left. Okay, so today I want to bring you some tips for, I guess, changing your mindset to living a more Grayman type lifestyle, meaning letting less people in as regards to what they can see, because perception is everything. And as we move forward, even right now, it's imperative that you start doing things because we're already heavily censored, heavily tracked. I mean, you know how it is. You go to social media and all the ads are catered to something that maybe you didn't even Google, but you just spoke out loud about in your home with your significant other, and then all of a sudden you're inundated and flooded with those types of ads just mysteriously. So we already know they're listening, right? Listening, watching, but I'm more concerned about other people, right? It's not that I don't like people, it's that I don't like people near me. I just people don't necessarily bother me. I just don't want them around me. And I think that that's kind of how you can put me in a nutshell. I've had a 20-year career that had everything to do with, you know, customer service, in people's faces, helping people every single day, right? And I'm over that, right? I'm working on preparedness, my family, and living a life where less people know less about us. Now, some of you might say, you're a real big hypocrite having a YouTube channel where I'm literally telling you everything, but it is to help you. You do not have to worry about me. I've got big girl pants on. My family's locked and loaded. We're okay. You don't have to worry about us. So I want to give you tips for going Grayman and thinking about things you can change. So the first one is food. Let's see, because I put notes for every single one. Okay, so when it comes to food, this is lots of things. This is what I just mentioned yesterday, bringing food in, letting people see food, right? Pulling all the way into your garage, maybe closing it, then taking out food, maybe bringing food in totes, not letting people see you carrying bags and bags and bags and bags of groceries, you know, back and forth from your car to your door. Maybe not having, you know, delivered food, either delivered food, even if it's restaurant or stuff. And then of course, just having groceries delivered. It's so easy to have groceries delivered these days, and people do that. And again, it's the same thing. Somebody comes and now sets 50 bags of food in front of your door, and you're having to go out there and get it, but the whole world is watching. So letting people see less when it comes to your food is how I mean, right? Not letting people, whatever that means for you, not letting people see that, okay? That's important. Next thing I have is water. So you're like, water, how? Same thing. You're shopping. Don't let people see the amount of water you're coming in. Don't have your water stacked up where everybody and their mother, whoever comes to the door or somebody comes in your home, they can see cases and cases of water stacked up, or gallons and gallons of water stacked up, where they can basically see, wow, you're stacking water. Why is that? Or what are those? They can clearly see water containers. Maybe they don't understand what it is. And they're like, what is that? People often ask us about our Berkey, for example. Somebody might come in for whatever reason, even friends and family. Oh, what's that? Oh, is that a coffee maker? Like, people just don't know. And, you know, sometimes depending on how the conversation's going, I can just kind of laugh off. But most times my answer is, oh yeah, that's just our filtering our water, right? It's just a large size, because they're like, whoa. And I'm like, yeah, it's just a bigger size so I can put gallons of water in there versus just 1 gallon in the fridge, maybe in a filter, or putting the filter on the sink, right? And then they move on, right? But water in general, this could mean rain barrels, right? On your property. Maybe you have rain barrels all around your house. You need to think about, how do you disguise those with plants, with little wood blockers, right? Wind blockers, half-built walls, that type of thing. How can you you know, one, you want to try to shade those anyway, but how do you keep the whole world from seeing all of those? How do you keep the neighbor who happens to be on a ladder trimming a tree see everything in your backyard, see that you have water collection on both, you know, spouts at either end of your house? It's not that they're gonna think anything, maybe, right? And they just move on with their business. But if things go left, people are desperate for water, people can't find stuff, they're gonna remember, oh, that house, they collect water, they are gonna have water. And in their mind, you have tons of water, right? And in reality, you don't maybe have that much collected or whatever, right? Depends on how often you're using it, that type of thing. But even if they're full, in reality, that's not a super ton of water. But those are the things that maybe right now they just keep moving, but when they're in a moment of desperation, they're gonna remember those moments where they're like, they had water. I remember seeing barrels of water collection on their property. And that goes for if you have cisterns, if you have big water collection tanks, maybe you have gravity fed, maybe you just collect water, maybe you just fill those up, and those cisterns are your emergency water. Whatever it is, what are the creative ways that you can Grayman that, hide that from most eyes, most prying eyes? And that goes from the sky too. I always worry about my perimeter and what neighbors can see over the fence, but I also worry about the sky. I don't trust it. Everybody has a drone. People are nosy. Just, you can see so much from just satellite, right? And so I'm a big fan of shade cloths, of pergolas, if whatever you can have to shade or cover stuff from above, especially if it's something that doesn't need like rain hitting it, sun, and you can actually put a bona fide like almost tarp cover over it. To me, that's amazing. Okay. Next thing I have is fuels. Same thing, you know, you have fuels, whether you keep them in the garage, whether you keep them outside in a ventilated, you know, storage. It doesn't matter. What matters is, what can people see? You know, every single time you open the garage, can people see that you have a whole shelf full of gas cans? You know, your fence line, which neighbors can look over it and clearly see, oh, you have a fuel storage container over there. Maybe they can't see specifically how many gas containers in there, but they can tell something's in there. Maybe they've seen you take stuff out, they can figure it out. So again, when times are desperate and then all of a sudden people are looking for stuff, they're gonna remember what they've seen, okay? Next thing I have is perimeter. I just talked about this. You know, do you have a fence? How big is that fence? If somebody was able to just, whatever, they're being nosy on purpose or they're accidentally have a view because they're doing something on their side, what can they see from that view? So I like to, before I figure out where I'm gonna put strategic things, I like to go to the fence line and think, okay, from this fence line, how far can they see? What could they see? And each neighbor, you're doing that. You're seeing if people come and visit you and they're just on the side patio, what can they see if they looked in your backyard? A lot of things, you look in my backyard, even when I do videos for my other channel, you don't see things, right? Because everything is strategic, right? The idea is to make the yard just look like a basic yard, and I have stuff in plain sight. I have stuff that, yeah, if you were in the back snooping, you could, you know, figure out, but from fence lines, even people visiting, even somebody who comes in, let's say, Orchid Man or somebody comes in, that people can't just readily see stuff and know what it is, okay? Next thing I have is your garden. You know, I saw somebody ask a question on one of my videos, and maybe it wasn't even one of my videos, I can't remember, but it was a comment that somebody had said, you know, how do you disguise your garden? How do you make it where people aren't like, oh, they got a garden, or as soon as they walk in the backyard, they're like, boom, that's a garden. Or maybe somebody from a fence line, whatever the case may be. Maybe it's from the road and them just driving by, and they clearly, people have gardens in their front yards. There's this house I drive by all the time, and they have a little cute greenhouse, but it's right there on the corner in the front of the yard for everybody to see. And, you know, I constantly think like, man, that's a horrible spot. Like, just everybody can clearly see that's a greenhouse. That's going to get, you know, done, right? So it's the same thing. And a lot of people are like, you can't hide a garden, whatever. They hop the fence eventually. They do a little snooping. They're going to find it's a garden. Absolutely, right? But you do what you can do to keep it down, right? Perception keep down them just immediately identifying, oh, she grows vegetables, right? And you can do that with plants, with shrubs, planting, having a garden space, and then planting stuff around that. You can do more of a Grayman planting in general, where you have beautiful flowers, you have beautiful landscape and trees, and you have it where it looks like I just have a pretty yard. But within that scattered is food, right? Is actual food, is actual medicinal plants, is actual stuff that could be helpful for us, right? That could feed us. And so you do that. Now, some people, it's hard to hide, let's say, a fruit tree or whatever. And some people strategically do things like they will plant a fruit tree in the yard. And so people coming by after SHTF, they can grab some fruit and they feel like they got something, and they're just going to try to leave because they're going to try to know that they've taken something from somebody, try to get it and just go before anybody can see them, instead of maybe starting to stay, snoop what's in the backyard, what's going on. And that's kind of a deterrent to just keeping people there, and they feel like they got something, and then because they're stealing, they take it and go instead of sticking around. But there's a lot of stuff you can do. I mean, if you work on an actual food forest, it's so overgrown, it's all working together that it's hard to identify where stuff's at unless you kind of know where you planted stuff and grew stuff. And once that grows up, it can be difficult. So there's some different things you can do. And some people don't garden like, hey, I'm gonna put these 6 raised beds together. This is obviously a garden spot. And people are getting a little bit more creative and putting those garden beds all over the property, like I said, within the landscape. And then it's not so, maybe somebody comes in the backyard and particularly goes to this corner. There's a tree and there's these beautiful regular green, evergreen type plants, and it's just flowers and stuff. But there's also a garden bed over there that has some tomatoes, and it's all kind of growing together where at the naked eye of them just glancing over there, maybe they don't notice it until they walk over and they're like, whoa, this is actually some tomatoes over here, right? So that's what I mean. There's some kind of cool things like that. Again, just like the perimeter stuff, that's what I like to do. I like stuff to not necessarily look like a garden. When I started my garden, for example, my garden over here on the patio this last year, I wanted to make it look really like a Japanese garden. Lots of flowers, lots of other plants, lots of trees, other stuff going on. So that at first glance, they're just like, oh, she has a nice little Japanese garden, not realizing, no, this is a bona fide vegetable garden right there. Like, and at first glance, maybe they don't even realize that. And then once you get into it, you're like, oh, okay, that's carrots. I clearly can see that's carrots. I clearly see those are tomatoes, right? So there's a lot that you can do when it comes to Grayman and your garden and growing food. Next thing I have is cut down on the home deliveries, right? Your Amazon deliveries, your just deliveries of product, of things, Amazon, food, restaurant food, groceries, all of that stuff. This probably happened to me. We had been here, I don't know, we were probably here 5 or 6 months back, retired, come back to the house. And if you've been following for any amount of time, you know we had a ton of work to do. Our septic had to be redone. We just had so much house stuff to do. And we were constantly, and then I was trying to start up a garden from zero here, right? And so I'm like, we're going to Home Depot like every day. We're getting wood for projects. We're getting planters. We're getting tools. We're getting just all this stuff. We were constantly leaving, going to the store, coming back, Home Depot. We were getting stuff delivered, projects and things delivered, food delivered. Like we were like, I wasn't grocery shopping. I've told you that before. When we first got back, we were living off of our preps here or eating out a lot. And this is just the cycle that we got into when we first got back, right? And one of my neighbors was gone. She was gone on vacation, and she's very good friends with the gentleman across the street. And so every day he was like going over there, just checking her property, doing stuff. And one day I'm in the front and I'm like watering something, or I'm watering one of the plants in the front or something I had just planted. And he sees me and he comes over and he's like, hey, how you doing? And I'm like, hey, how you doing? Really nice guy, whatever. And he makes a comment though. And he makes a comment, and I think I answered it good, but it took me off guard. He goes, wow. He goes, yeah, how are things going? I was like, yeah, you know, we're staying busy, a lot of projects, whatever. He's like, yeah, you guys spending a lot of money. And I was like, oh, right? Like, he's like, yeah, you guys are really, really doing it over here. And I was like, oh, damn, like this guy, right? So one, I'm upset he's being so nosy. Two, I'm like, dang, I should have known better, because we're just getting stuff delivered left and right. We're bringing in planters and wood and just so many different things, right? And from his view, it was like, oh, they got money. Boy, you guys really spending money over here, right? And I was like, what? And so now I'm like, okay, we got a bullseye on us. Somebody's paying attention. He's clearly watching us bring all this stuff in, and there's some sort of perception that like we have a lot of money or we have a lot of whatever. But I was quick on it, you guys. I was just like, yeah. I said, yeah, it feels real good being able to, you know, be in the military for 20 years and be gone, and that money builds up. It builds up, you know, your savings builds up, because we're in other countries, you know, we're working for the, you know, we're working for you, right? We're working for the American people. We're gone a lot, but it feels good because now we're retired and we can actually spend that money. And I said, baby, and we're spending it. It's almost gone, right? And I just had to kind of spin it like, listen, buddy, we're not made of money, right? We just happen to be doing a lot of projects, and we had a little bit of savings, and we was able to jump in and do that, right? But it made me realize, like, people, very small, quiet neighborhood. People are not outside a lot. Those neighbors I spoke of are pretty nosy, right? So I wasn't totally shocked, but I was kind of like, wow, the gall to just be like, wow, yeah, you guys are really spending a lot of money. I was like, wow, kind of rude, right? So I was more surprised about that, but it was crazy. So you really, really, really have to watch what you're doing, because even if you think somebody's not watching, they're watching, and they're making their own mind up of the situation. He had already made up that because we were getting all this stuff, we're spending. He was like calculating in a way that we're really spending some money, right? I mean, he obviously knows how much wood costs or this or that, and he had just kind of calculated like, wow, they're spending a lot of money. And I was like, whoa. So needless to say, we immediately stopped, okay? And well, obviously the project stopped. They pulled way back anyway, because we did so much in the beginning that we were running out of stuff to do anyway, right? But nowadays, you know, if we need something for a project, whatever, we try to compile that, so we're only going, you know, one time instead of several times. Because I think Bay was loving that. Like, oh, I'll just go to Home Depot and grab that real quick. Oh, we need that. Oh, I'll just go to Home Depot. You know, he was loving that, right? And then we pull in the back all the way. We offload to the detached garage now, again, so other neighbors can't see. So we learned our lesson, right? We slipped up a little bit on what we were doing. We're so focused on the house, so focused on our goals and what we were trying to accomplish, that we weren't paying attention, that other people were paying attention to us. Next thing I have is wood piles. You know, some people are like, you can't hide a wood pile. What does that even matter? Again, if it goes left, there's no power. People with wood stoves, people who don't have that wood stocked up, don't have 3 or 4 cords of wood, they're going to be looking for wood, and obviously they're going to be looking for chopped wood versus trying to chop down a tree. Okay, so if your stuff is readily, they can see it, it's on your front porch, it's all nice and stacked up, you know, and they know, hey, we'll just come at night and we'll just take this wood. So pay attention to what's going on and where you're keeping it. Next thing I have is hygiene. The biggest thing about hygiene and preparedness items is in your home. If you have folks come, I mean, this could be anybody, your friends and family, they come, you invite them over for dinner, or you invite them over to get something or whatever, and they use your bathroom. Maybe it's a repair guy. Typically those people are not asking to use the bathroom, but let's just say, right, maintenance guy wants to use the bathroom, whatever. Do not keep any preparedness stuff in your bathroom, meaning under your sink. People are really nosy because they know they can go to the bathroom. Typically there's not going to be cameras in there, because obviously they're going to the bathroom, the door is shut, they can turn on the water, and they could just peek. Let me just peek at these cupboards real quick and just see, right? And some of it is not that they want to necessarily steal from you or take something. It's just curiosity. People want to look, see what they got in here, you know, and just whatever. Or maybe it's something innocent, like they're looking for a tampon or they're looking for some toilet paper. Maybe it's innocent. But do not let people just open that and see 20 tubes of toothpaste. And you've got all the toilet paper stacked up on the top thing, and they can see you have 3 cases of toilet paper above the cabinet, you know. Or you can see you have hand wash down there, antibacterial hand wash down there. Remember when it was hard to get that during COVID? You couldn't find certain things, and they see, dang, she got 20 bottles of antibacterial soap down here, right? Whatever the product is, do not stack stuff in your bathroom under that thing. Obviously, I get it. That's like a convenient place, especially if you get shelving. Just put all your beauty stuff down there. Even if it's stuff you don't use anymore, you put that stuff down there. Put the extra hair stuff, extra bottles of gels. You know what I mean? You get a product and then you're like, I don't want this product anymore. Put that stuff in baskets and throw that stuff under there, right? Put your curling irons, that type of stuff all down there. So they go down there, they look, it's just your normal extra stuff like that. It's not actual preps and stockpiled hygiene items, okay? Next thing I have is cash, right? You've got to start living in a world where you try to do less and less with an actual credit card, because it just immediately tracks you. Now, are there things out there that can still track you? Yes. Okay, so you're not 100% getting away from that. But the more you do that, the less they can see. My motto is every 2 weeks, I go to the grocery store on my bank card, my debit card, buy $200 to $300 worth of groceries that the whole world can see, right? Big brother can see. It's my normal fresh stuff. I get that stuff. And then everything else between those time periods of those normal, let me show them what I'm buying. Everything else is bought with cash. And so I pull cash out, and then I'll go to whatever grocery stores or whatever store I'm trying to get something. This isn't necessarily just food. And we'll buy it with cash, right? Especially if I'm trying to concentrate on a certain staple or certain food, and I'm not wanting them to just track me going to every store and getting this item, right? I'm going to be going around with cash, right? And I'm not using my normal, savings card at those stores, paying cash, but using the shopping card that clearly shows, my name and my phone number and all that stuff, okay? The next thing that kind of falls in line with that is shopping, right? Shopping Grayman. Cash is part of that. Those shopping cards, those reward cards that you sign up for them under a different name. You're not showing any ID that this is you. You're not showing any ID, a phone number. So make up a phone number, make up a name. Now, obviously, this has to be something that you remember, because when you go in, obviously they ask you, or you have to pin it in. So you have to remember that fake number and that name. But that is a way that you can try to complete that circle of Grayman when you're shopping, but still get those savings. Because a lot of folks are like, well, if I don't use the cards, I don't get the savings. So just think that through a little bit more, okay? And think that through when you're just buying stuff in general. You might have cash, but you're giving them your phone number to get your savings from that store. And now you're in the digital world of purchasing that said item, okay? Next thing I have is SHTF. I put a note, just light discipline. Grayman is less lights when there's no power, using red lights only, right? So that means red lights and flashlights and lanterns, even a string of red lights. String them up around your house. That maybe you plan to have a string of lights or Christmas lights with your solar generator. String them around your house, plug them into the solar generator at night, and then go outside right now and see, with your blinds closed, your curtains closed, whatever, is there any spots where your blinds or your curtains or whatever doesn't cover and people can see light? And just see how bright is it. But we call that light discipline. That way now. Maybe certain areas that are going to need to be covered. I mean, you would do this anyway as a backup during SHTF, no power. Go out at night, see which lights you can see. See if you can see, from the outside, hey, we're using lanterns in there, whatever. Now, typically, if you have dressings on your wall or on your windows already, this is a lot easier, but sometimes there's a gap and you can see stuff, okay? So Grayman, preparing for SHTF, and literally going light discipline. And then I think I only have, let me see. Yeah, I only have one more. I put property and home. So this is what you're allowing people to see. So I already mentioned a little bit with the garages. If you're the type that leaves your garage door all the time, first of all, you should stop doing that because there's a lot of thievery going on. But when you leave your garage door open all the time, folks can clearly see what's in there, right? And if you leave it open all the time, they're just free for all. They can see everything, all the shelves, everything. But you have to be careful just when you come home and it's not up for very long, but it's up long enough for people to be nosy and see something, right? So what can people see when the garage door's open? Maybe this is just covering some stuff. So the garage door opens, but they don't see stuff. The shelving that has maybe totes or whatever, or has items is covered up with a sheet. Or maybe you get more organized and you put everything in totes. And so the totes and stuff is what people see on shelves when it opens, right? Really organize it. And this can be something as simple as tools and just organizing tools and ensuring that folks are not seeing what type of tools you have, right? So keeping it organized in totes, in drawers, in cabinets, that stuff matters. What else does it say? And then I said with windows is the thing too, is you know, a lot of people have beautiful windows and maybe during the day you're opening them, but then you're going to work and then, you know, you have workers or you have people being nosy or you have thieves who are looking at your home and you've left, you know, stuff open for them to just look in and take a look at literally what you have inside your house. One, they can see you're not home or they don't see anybody. And then two, they see items so that they're able to case it better because they can actually understand, okay, we want to hit this house tonight because I see that they have this pantry. The door was open. I could clearly see they have this whole pantry room. I see this one shelf with a bunch of stuff. I see they have this. I see a whole bunch of water in the corner one place. Whatever, maybe it's a basement's full, but they look in that basement window and they can see everything that you have in there. Maybe it's your garage, right? Detached garage. We have a detached garage. It has like 4 or 5 windows, right? People being able, the ability to look in there and see what is in there. What do you have, right? So you got to get smart with Grayman when it comes to the windows in your house, windows in your garage, even windows on sheds and different things like that, and what you're allowing people to see, okay? I think that was 12. We're just going to call it 13. I got another one, livestock. Obviously, you can't hide that you have a cat or a dog or whatever the case, right? But maybe as you're getting animals, let's just say our chickens, for example, the whole time I've thought of how do I keep the least amount of people knowing we have chickens? And it's not necessarily like I'm 100% don't want them knowing at all, but how do I just keep the lowest profile with that? Well, one, where I live can't have a rooster. Actually, I'm not sure if I can have a rooster, but I wouldn't because there's way too many neighbors. But a rooster, for example, is a game changer. Everybody in the neighborhood, everybody around knows, hey, they've got chickens. They got a rooster, they have chickens. That's eggs, that's food, right? But it's other stuff too. As you get other animals, I think about later if we had property and we had other animals, not just allowing the whole world to see. And I know some people are like, that's hard. Like, you're not going to be able to hide the fact that you have certain things. And maybe not 100%, but you don't necessarily too have to have these animals just everywhere where the whole world can see them, right? You can be moving them around. You know, certain situations, maybe you know somebody's come or whatever, you can lock some of them up. You know, this looks different for everybody. Looks different from the type of property you have, where you live, how many people are going to see. But that stuff to me matters of trying to keep things as Grayman as possible. Okay. There's thieves everywhere, baby, in rural areas, in the city, everywhere, in the suburban areas, everywhere. Crime is everywhere. There's thieves everywhere. There's prying eyes everywhere. And, you know, do I think the neighbor is going to, you know, have the balls to come over here and try to get something one day? No, but he might have the balls to try to ask me for help and like, hey, I see you guys, you know, I've seen you for forever and I see you get this, whatever it is, right? It could be something we're not even tracking on. We're not even thinking about that little thing, but he's like, okay, well, they might be the type of people from what I saw, they might be the type of people that does have the thing that I'm looking for or that I'm wanting, okay? So just really start practicing Grayman and letting people not be in your business, not showing them enough, at least not showing them stuff openly and on purpose, right? at the end of the day, if people see things, they see things. And certain things, if people saw it and you're like, okay, I gotta move it now because that's no good if they see that, right? Even that type of scenario. Even something, think about this, just going to lunch, going to work, and you bring your lunch. You're like, times are tough. I'm not going to eat out lunch anymore. I'm going to start bringing a lunch. And you bring a lunch and you always have a big leftover bowl of stew from the night before. Oh, it's leftovers, but yet it's a big old bowl of it. You know, big old Tupperware container, right? Families are starving and you're bringing this big container that probably could feed maybe 2 people and you're bringing it for lunch. Or you're bringing 2 sandwiches and you always have fresh fruit and you always have some snacks and you always have a couple drinks. You always have a water and a Gatorade. People notice that stuff, and maybe not in the moment. It's not that big of a deal, but it could be rude with people that can't afford to bring a lunch like that. You know, coworkers that aren't bringing any food and they're not eating out either, and they're literally starving, and now they're watching you eat, you know, enough food for 2 people, right? And just remembering, like, we've been starving, something goes left, and they're like, well, this person always brought a ton of food. That's the family I'm going to ask for help. I'm going to ask them if they have extra food or they have something for us, right? And it just puts that bullseye on you, like they remember Johnny, who was always bringing lunch. Maybe Johnny has more food at their house, right? I don't know, right? That's the hubby. He eats in the car. Like, don't let people be seeing that stuff. It's perception, right? And I know some people watching this are like, you're paranoid. You're paranoid. No, this is just real life for us. This is our lifestyle. This is how we get down. And it is what it is. And you wouldn't even notice. It's just life here. We're very security conscious. We're very, for the most part, conscious of who's watching us, what people are seeing. You know, obviously we got caught when we first got here because we were so immersed in the construction and the fixing of things and the maintenance of things, and just like, we got to get this stuff corrected. And at the same time, I'm trying to build up and start a garden here, so I'm buying all the things, right? I'm not buying a little bit of things to just add to this garden season. I'm buying all the things. You know, we're getting deliveries of dirt, deliveries of, you know, we're getting all the things, right? So that's our fault for allowing that to be seen, because we clearly could have, you know, we picked up the dirt, we picked up the gravel, whatever. We could have clearly, tools and stuff, clearly could have driven the back, and dude would have never seen any of this stuff, right? Maybe he saw us leaving, going, but he wouldn't have been able to physically see all the things and then deduct in his mind, whoa, they got a lot of money, right? You know, getting the septic done, oh, they got a lot of money. That costs a lot, right? And I had to turn that one around, like, yeah, you know, after years of being in the military and being deployed and not having the opportunity to spend savings, it built up, and trust me, man, we've been spending it, because it's gone, right? I had to just kind of spin it like, yeah, you've been seeing us spend some money, but it's gone. There's no more. And then you stop that, which confirms then they ain't got no more money, right? And it's really the reality is we were just about done with stuff, because this is months and months and months of us working on the house, working on projects. But yeah, okay. Promise you people are watching. And they have way bigger, you know, the gall is just huge on people these days, right? They do not care about how it might come across what they're saying to you, right? In a rude fashion. And I don't know. So anyway, I hope you guys got something from this. Please let me know in the comments below your guys' thoughts, anything you want to add for the group, teach the group. We're all learning from each other, and I'll see you guys tomorrow on the next video. Take care. Bye.